Hello, and thanks for joining us today. The following presentation is an attempt to simplify the process of officiating the racewalk event. It is aimed at new officials and those who have limited experience with this event. The end game is that once you have completed this virtual clinic, you will have the basic competency to fill the roles as either a racewalk judge or a racewalk official in support of the judges during a local event with non-elite athletes. Every official is a track and field official and should have basic competency in every event, as the needs on meet day are often fluid and you may need to fill in during an emergency. This will provide you with the necessary knowledge to do that. We'll go over the following areas during this virtual clinic using the KISS principle, keeping it as simple as possible. These areas are basics for the official, 2 rules to know, how to judge, 2 actions to take, 2 forms to complete, judging in action, and other officials' duties. 2 rules to know. Bent knee is one of the 2 violations that happen in racewalking events. For the judge working meets with non-elite athletes, this is what you will see 95% or more of the time. This happens because these athletes have not learned the skill needed to racewalk properly or with high performance. Being able to determine when an athlete is bending their knee or knees at the time when they must be straightened is your primary responsibility in those meets. Loss of contact is the other violation that happens in racewalking events. There are 3 main instances when this happens in a race: the start, the finish, and with those athletes who have not been coached and who jog the event trying to copy what they've been told or have seen. Outside of elite level racewalkers, this violation is 5% or less of what you will encounter during races. DQs happened. We've got a short list of things that must be understood about this inevitable part of the racewalk. It takes 3 independent judging calls to lead to a DQ. Athletes DQ themselves. You just fill out the paperwork. This is just like every other event. 3 fouls in the long jump is also a DQ. The athletes are notified when shown a red paddle during or after the race. It cannot be appealed. What is also critical to understand is that a DQ does not equal someone cheating in the event. That's an ignorant statement and is usually made by someone with 0 knowledge of the event. How to judge. First, we always judge from the side, never from the front or back. On the track or road, you can do this either from the inside or the outside of the course or track, and I highly recommend that you do both, as it allows you to see the athletes from different angles and observe both sides of the racers, as well as those who like to hide in the middle or inside of a pack. When judging, look for the front foot to make contact with the ground. This should happen either with the midfoot or the heel. This initial contact must happen before you see the back foot lose contact with the ground. If you remember when we talked about the 2 rules, you'll know that 95% of the athletes will do this part pretty well, and you'll get comfortable seeing this behavior as it is the norm. Next, we make sure the front knee is straightened from the time the front foot makes contact, and it stays that way until the same knee passes under the hip while the leg is going backwards. As long as the athletes are doing this, they're racewalking within the rules, and you'll have an uneventful day. Again, in our rules discussion, it was mentioned that bent knee is the thing that you will see. But how do we tell the difference? Here we must focus on the side of the leg. Make an imaginary line from the hip bone to the side of the knee, then to the ankle bone. This should essentially be a straight line. We should ignore legs that are very muscular or knees that are bony, as neither of those things determine or affect whether the leg is straightened or bent at the knee. Athletes come in all shapes and sizes too, and we should be aware that this also has no effect on whether they can walk within the rules. Once we're able to understand these two rules, we can move on to being an official and what that means on race day. 2 actions to take. A racewalk judge has 2 main duties during the race. The first is showing an athlete a yellow paddle to inform them which one of the rules they are in danger of violating. It's critical to be aware that showing a yellow paddle has no negative impact on the athlete. This is the way that judges communicate potential rule violations, nothing more. They do not indicate a foul has happened, nor do they lead to a DQ. What is critical and required is that the athletes being shown a paddle can see it and know it is intended for them. This means you absolutely, positively need to be within your arm's length of that athlete when the paddle is shown to them. If they're in lane 1, you must be in lane 2 or on the inside of the track next to the rail. If you are anywhere else, this is simply unacceptable, as the athlete will not see the paddle, and if they do see it, will not know it is for them. The paddle should be shown at a height from the chest to the face. This will assure the communication has been received. In local, non-championship meets, it may be okay to communicate verbally with beginner athletes, so they learn from judging during the race. In championships at any level, there is no need or requirement to communicate with the athletes at all other than showing them the paddle. The second duty of a racewalk judge is to propose disqualification when the behavior of the athlete clearly violates one of the 2 rules. In most cases, this should be after you have shown a paddle earlier in the race. The last lap is the one common exception to this. When you, as the judge, are satisfied that the athlete is outside the rules, then you complete and send in a red card proposing that they be DQ'd. Remember from earlier that it takes at least 3 judges to remove the athlete from the race. At no time during the race do we let any athlete know you are the judge that wrote the red card. As a judge, we continue to observe any such athlete as if the card was not written, but we cannot show them any more paddles or write any more cards on them. 2 forms to complete. Racewalk judges have 2 forms that they must complete during races. These forms keep track of their judging activity during the race and are used post-race to analyze what all of the judges observed to check that the same things were seen by the full crew. They are a great learning tool for newer officials as well. The tally sheet allows each judge to see which athletes have received yellow paddles or cautions, for what violation and at what time. The same information is tracked for red cards, also known as DQ proposals, on the sheet. They are turned in at the conclusion of each race to the recorder, which we'll discuss later. The tally sheet is the most critical thing the racewalk judge does. It must be filled out correctly and immediately after every paddle and red card, or chaos will occur. The red card, or DQ proposal, as mentioned earlier, is your foul notification. This must be filled out completely and correctly every time, or more chaos will occur. This can include athletes being DQ'd in error, so be sure your writing is perfectly clear and matches the tally sheet. On both forms, you write down the competitor number, making sure clerking puts 3 to 4 hip numbers on each athlete so you can see which athlete is which. Then circle the symbol related to the paddle shown or the violation occurring. Put in the time of day that incident occurred and sign your name. For red cards, signing a few before the race will save you time and is highly recommended. Judging in action. Judging is a verb. This means it involves action. We've gone over the specifics already in relation to how this relates to the rules. One other thing must be made clear. The judge needs to be in action, that is, moving during the race. A stationary judge is an ineffective official, incapable of communicating properly with the athletes. The paddles are your communication device, not your voice yelling things to them that they cannot hear or process. As athletes are approaching and passing you, you should be moving in the same direction as the athletes within your zone or area. Why is that? If you're stationary, it is very difficult to move from your stationary judging position to catch up to athletes passing you and also show them the paddle properly without appearing to be charging at them in an aggressive manner. This startles athletes and is inappropriate officiating. Imagine calling a board foul in the long jump by running up to the athlete, waving a flag as they're in the air, or just landing in the pit. That would scare them, and they're not going to process what's going on. Moving with the athletes allows you to make your calls quickly and efficiently without interfering with them mentally or physically during the race. The next few slides give us a general idea of judging positioning and effective and ineffective ways to do the job. We take a side view of the competitors and view them over about a 60-degree viewpoint. This triangle goes with you as you move, which gives you more time to process what the athletes are doing. When you're trying to show an athlete a paddle, we want to already be moving so that we can reach their rate of speed and show them the paddle at the right height, and also then be able to move out of the way so that we don't interfere with other athletes. We never lay down on the job. We approach athletes in a pack and hold the paddle so that they're aware of the reason for it being shown, and it's at the right height when shown to that athlete or group of athletes. Other officials' duties. There are two important positions in a race walk, and without them, more of that dreaded chaos will occur. The recorder is the competition secretary. They handle all of the paperwork during and after the race to assure that everything is going as it is supposed to be. Their job is the most important on the whole team and should be done by the most organized person possible. Great handwriting is also a desired trait. This official manages all the red cards during the event and compiles the tally sheets afterwards too. Additionally, they may manage the DQ notification board or work with the official doing that. The DQ board is where the symbols are placed, telling the athletes how many fouls they have accumulated. This is vitally important in championship meets, so athletes know if they need to adjust their technique or pace to stay in the race. Lastly, each judge should be assigned a card runner. This person can be a volunteer or a new official who is apprenticing under a mentor. The job of this position is to take the red cards from the judges to the recorder so that they can be processed in a timely fashion. If you have athletes or other young volunteers who can run, this is a great place for them. On road courses, often this job is done by someone on a bike or skates of some kind, so they can travel faster over the longer distances. Wrap up. In summary, every official in the sport should know the basics of the rules of racewalking and how to apply them during a local meet, like something that would be held for a high school team or in their USATF or AAU association, with primarily non-elite athletes. What we've gone over today should give you the basic foundational knowledge to work any meet at this level with basic competency. This is the same level of expertise required and demonstrated at the overwhelming majority of meets around the country in every other officiating position. You now possess the same level of general knowledge. Getting the practical experience is what will grow your skills to the level of comfort and high performance, just like every other officiating position. Congratulations on getting this far, and we hope to see you out there working as a judge or official at racewalk events so that you can make a positive difference in the lives of athletes in the sport of track and field.